Bonjour. Attendez. Non. Alors, bonjour. Welcome to the celebration of life of Mrs. Lillian Cibula. Can you please make sure your cell phones are turned off? And for those of you joining us remotely, thank you for your presence. Note that due to copyrights, the music played during the ceremony will be muted for you at home. My name is Stéphanie Côté. I'm the owner and one of the funeral directors of Voluntas, and it is a privilege and an honor to welcome you in your funeral home. I met Mrs. Lisiak in 2012 when her husband passed away. I remember sitting at her kitchen table. We had very meaningful conversations. I do not remember the words, but I do remember the feelings of kindness and appreciation. Sometimes we meet people for a matter of hours during important times in their lives. And we know deep down that their presence have changed us. Lillian Lisiak contributed to who I am today, and her essence was also transferred to the beautiful daughters I raised. So thank you. Christine Marie-Gladu will be celebrating this ceremony today. And we will start the celebration of Lillian's life by listening to a selected piece of music, Raining in My Heart, from Buddy Holly. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Christine. As we begin this service, I will ask Andrew, grandson of Lillian, to please come and light the ceremony candle. As you probably figure it out, I did not know Lillian personally, but I had conversations with Lisa, and I feel that I am blessed to know the little I know about Lillian. She was born on September 7th, 1943. That was during the Second World War. The same year, William Lyon Mackenzie King, Theodore Roosevelt, and Mr. Churchill from Great Britain, they came to Quebec in August so they could have a meeting and figure out the Second Front in Europe that took place in 1943. Lillian was the middle child of a family of 3 siblings, and she was the only girl. She was in the middle. She was born in Montreal in the Park Extension neighborhood. Deciding to raise a family in the middle of wartime is either crazy or it's a reasoned decision. For Dad, Julius, and Mom Mary, it really was a project. They wanted to raise a family and come what may. The children went to school, and Lillian went as well. She learned to read, to write, and to count. And she went to work early. It was the custom in these times. She worked at Bayer Company, and then she went to CP Rail. It is there at CP Rail that she met the man who was to become her husband, Oswald Lisiak, Ozzy for short. And I made a little bit of research, and I found out that Canadian Pacific Railway in these years, she married in the 60s, CP Rail were employing 17,519 people. That's a lot of employees. But such is life, such is love. Lillian met the one who was going to be her husband among these 17,000 people. Can you imagine? They fell in love and they married in the 60s. In 1973, maybe you will recall, the Earth, planet Earth, stopped spinning for a moment. That was when their son, Stephen, was born. Happens. The world evolved around this little boy, and he grew up to be a wonderful and unique man. That's the early story of this beautiful couple and of Lillian in particular. But to tell us more about her, I would like to invite Wendy, the daughter of Butch, brother Butch, to invite Wendy to come and tell us about Lillian. And she will read you a letter that she received. She's going to tell you about it.
My name is Wendy. I'm one of Auntie Lila's nieces. And this was actually, I've been asked to read something that came from one of my aunt's oldest friends from Boston. Her name is Mary, and she couldn't be here today, but she asked that this be read in Auntie Lila's honor. Lillian was my oldest and dearest friend. We first met at 11 years old in Park X as neighbors. We immediately became the closest of friends. She was 2 months older than I and more practical and sensible. That all-encompassing smile she wore most of the time that you all know was evident way back then, but with the added sparkle of braces. Her smile was genuine as she was. I spent most of my free time with her at her house. I loved her parents. Her mother would bake wonderful nutty cookies that Lillian continued to bake on special occasions after she married, and that I now bake. Her childhood home was my escape from the stress in mine. There were frequent parties, dances arranged for us young people in her house and in her friends' and relatives' basements. Her brother Bill had a band and would sing and play guitar in her living room, and could he ever dance? They were great years. Butch, you must remember all this. We had our differences. Lillian loved Pat Boone, and I Elvis. We both loved Buddy Holly. We went to Joliet every summer, spending weeks with her grandfather at his farm until her parents bought their own summer place close by. We would explore the woods looking for mushrooms. We ate curds and whey from her grandfather's cows. We were free to do whatever we wanted. Later, at our parents' summer place, we continued the tradition of mushroom picking. She knew everything about mushrooms. I remember white sheets over large picnic tables covered with sliced mushrooms basking in the sun. And then there were the many summer picnics with her family and friends in Joliet. We went to different schools, yet we maintained our friendship, still as thick as thieves. We did not see each other as much as we entered the workforce and romance stole our attention, but we always stayed in touch even after I emigrated to the United States. We talked on the phone, we visited each other, maybe not as frequently as I wish we had. She never forgot my birthday. We visited antique shops in Boston together. I wish I'd spent more time with her. Life got in the way, as it so often does. I am so grateful for our friendship, for all the time we spent together, and for sharing in her most personal family life when I needed it most as a young teenager. Lil, if you were listening, thank you for you. Thank you for your steadfastness, generosity of spirit, authenticity, and love. Your many loyal friends are a testament to who you were. You left us too early. Love always, Mary Tedesco from Boston.
Thank you very much. And as we said, she had many friends, but there was one that she loved in particular as well. It's Sue Bleho. She's here today, and she will speak to us now.
Hi, welcome everyone. Like she says, my name is Sue Bleho, and like many of you here today, Lil was my dear friend. I'm not from her childhood days of Park X or summers in Joliet, nor from her days at CP or Bear, nor from her DDO neighborhood or seniors club, but from a chance encounter about 35 years ago at my sister Helen's place. Lillian worked with Helen and Meloy at Bear Canada in the late 80s. Our paths crossed after that through social gatherings, and we soon realized what strongly connected us. Besides our Czechoslovak heritage, it was our love of the treasure hunting, as we like to call it. Garage and church rummage sales, flea markets and antiquing, then later estate sales. We were thrifting before it became cool again. We'd get up early on a Saturday morning on the road with a list in hand, excited to browse with the possibility of buying someone else's junk. Oh, sorry, I mean treasures. It was awesome to watch Lil pick through the tables, zeroing in on certain items, picking it up, inspecting it for cracks, nicks, labels, stamps, stuff that I never even looked at, and she'd always point it out. And you knew she was serious when she removed those glasses for close-up look, and even more amusing when her monocle came out of her purse. Like a skilled jeweler, she would identify the tiniest marks or indentations. She knew its worth, and she knew a lot of things. She researched so many things. My sister Kathy reminds me when she came over to her place one day, and one of the first things she noticed was this painting on Kathy's wall that said, and she said, "That's a John Little painting," and we were all like, where that came from, but she knew even about paintings. Lillian should have been a museum curator. She researched and inventoried her acquisitions: china plates and teacups, crystal glasses and vases, the silver, gold, and gems, the tchotchkes, the artwork. She'd find out their origin, their stories as best she could. All was beautifully displayed throughout her home. The collections were small corners of comfort, each with their own story. Seeing the things she loved around her made her space feel alive. I once brought her a quote because she'd always say there was clutter in all this. And the quote said, "I don't have clutter. I have carefully curated collections of things that make my brain happy." And I have that same sentiment. And Lil loved hosting small gatherings of friends for tea parties or luncheons. The table was always set so beautifully with pieces of her treasures, and she would recount their stories when people asked. Years ago, when I was still working, Lil and I dreamed of opening up our own tea room where we would do the baking and she might serve the food on her wares and even display teacups and other things for sale. She often reminded me of that over the years. Hang on, I can't do this. Over the years, and actually not even that long ago, that she was a bit disappointed that it never happened, and that was my fault. Coincidentally, Lil and I auditioned for a CBC reality show back in 2014. It was called 4 Rooms. It didn't last very long. They were looking for prized possessions that contestants would present to potential buyers. We were so excited about this. We carefully picked a few of our favorite collectibles and headed downtown to the CBC building to audition. We didn't get chosen, but we did have a lot of fun preparing and presenting our stuff, and a good laugh at some of the strangest items that people brought in and their bizarre owners. It was a very good time. I couldn't believe it when she said she was shy as a child because she was always yakking up a storm wherever we went. And she also didn't know how to whisper if her life depended on it, which occasionally brought us some unwanted attention. Keeping in touch with old friends, distant relatives, family, neighbors was very important to Lil. She was always mailing off a card, a note, which has become a lost art these days. She kept in touch with so many as she treasured them all. In 2011, Lillian and Ozzy's life was shattered when their beloved son Stephen died too soon, leaving behind his young wife Lisa and their very young son Andrew. Lisa, you became, I don't want to make you cry, sorry. You became the daughter she never had. I'm so grateful that you were with her in her final hours. She loved the family time she spent with you, with Steve and AJ, the many baseball games, family suppers, and trips. And AJ, you brought so much joy to your babka. Don't ever forget that. You were the apple of her eye, and she was your biggest fan. Lil, I will miss you. Our long telephone calls that always ended with, "How long were we on this time?" Our treasure hunts, even though I probably fell out of favor a bit with you when I stopped getting up early on Saturday mornings once I retired. I'll miss stopping in for tea, bringing my own tea bags with me because you hated tea, and you had a weird assortment of tea bags to choose from, which was also a very weird collection. You've left a hole in my heart and in my life, and I love you, my dear old friend Lil.
Thank you. Don't be shy to thank her. Merci beaucoup. And Wendy, thank you. Thank you. Ça prend du courage. To tell us more about her sister, nobody but Butch could do it better. Please be welcome.
Thank you, and thank all of you for being here. I delivered my father's eulogy, and when I asked him if I could do it, because I was youngest, he said, "Yeah, do it, but be quick." I hated those things, so I'm quick. My first memory of Lillian was, I could have been 2 or 3 years old. It was the streetcar terminal on Craig Street, which is now, anybody remember Craig Street streetcar terminal? It was what is now St. Antoine, and it was sort of a brick building with air spaces between it, and it was snowing. It was a real wintry day. And Lillian was crying and crying and pointing upwards, and we had to look up, and there she was crying. There was a Barbara Ann Scott doll. So I guess it was 1949, so I was 3, because Barbara Ann Scott won the Olympics for Canada in figure skating in '48, and she wanted that doll. And that's probably my earliest memory of Lillian. I'm gonna spend a little time talking about early memories of Lillian, because I'm the only one who knows them. We used to go to my grandfather's farm in Joliet, and one of the things that was always a race was when a chicken laid an egg. You had a chicken house, and we had the door, the chicken door. There was a regular door, which I think my grandfather tried to keep closed, and there was a little door for the chickens to go in and out. And she and I, when we heard a chicken go cluck, 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 we'd race to see who could be the first one through that door, hands and knees through chicken dirt, and get in and put our hands under the laying hens to see if we could find a warm egg. And so that was a wonderful memory of Lillian at that time. There was a place on the river in the rapids at the L'Assomption River near Joliet, where there was a surge of water. It went down, it was limestone levels, and would go down about a meter and a half, and then be another level of quiet water, and there were rushing places of water. Well, one of us fell in, and there was a large rock, it was a glacial erratic, right in where the water rushed through, and I don't remember who was the first, but went in, and it looked like your head was going to go smashing into the rock, which is probably what we thought, or the first one thought, but the push of the water pushed you away, and you just slide off into the quiet water on the side. And we did that. There's a picture here of the 4 of us, Bill, Lillian, myself, and Doreen Hanusiak, who's a second cousin. We were spending hours and hours at that place, just going through the water. Sue mentioned mushrooms. We always went mushroom picking. We were picking mushrooms. I was 3 or 4 years old. I was in the bush, and Lillian had this fantastic eyesight. I guess that goes with her antiquing and her teacups and her silverware, but she was always the one who found the first mushroom, or found a mushroom, or found, and if there was one mushroom, you'd usually say, well, there's got to be a brother nearby, and she'd be almost always, she would be the one that would find that with her sharp eyes. She would be the person who looked and found, and it was a wonderful time. Now I'm going to go back to Montreal a bit. I don't know how many of you have had Lillian's peanut butter cookies. But the first time she made peanut butter cookies, she was probably about 11, 12. And my brother Bill started hogging out on them, and she got so upset because I think she wanted to put them in a box and keep them forever. But anyway, and it was sorry, I am not speaking well because I'm not having a very good day. I apologize. But she loved to bake and she loved to cook, and but I still remember the first time she actually baked anything, and Bill eating them. Her 16th birthday, she's always proud enough to say that on my 16th birthday, it's the day that Maurice Duplessis died. And But what happened was Mary Larondo, Lillian, as we heard the song from Buddy Holly, Lillian's favorite singer was Buddy Holly, and there was a brand new LP with Buddy Holly, and Lillian wanted that Buddy Holly LP, and she was sure she was going to get it for her birthday. But what Mary Larondo did was she bought the LP, but she took the record out and put it into the casing for a record probably of Joe Nobody from the Nothing Band from Nowhere. And so Lillian was so disappointed until she pulled the record out and realized it was the one that she wanted. She she spent a lot of time going out with a local friend of the family's son, my God. Name has escaped me. Rannick, what was his first name? Anyway, John Rannick, and she spent years, they were boyfriend and girlfriend for years with John and her, and we all thought this was going to be the result of 4 years of going out or 3 years of going out together, and then she ran into Ozzy and she dumped John like a hot potato. And Ozzy was a wonder. Ozzy was a wonderful. If there were 12 people in a room, 7 or 8 people were gathered around Ozzy. He was just he just attracted people. He had such a personality. He was just a little giggle. He made everybody want to be near him. He was wonderful. You remember him. But then Lillian had a wonderful life until I'm not saying that her marriage was bad, until she got married. But then, for a couple of years, she led the world record in abortions because medically a miscarriage is an abortion, and she miscarried any number of times. I can't remember how many times, but it was more than 2 a year. She just kept trying to have a baby, and finally, she was bedridden for 9 months to have Stephen. But after Stephen, she had a fallopian pregnancy, and she almost died. And a few years later, well, a number of years later, many happy years later, Ozzy had his stroke, and then Stephen got cancer, and then Stephen was gone, and then Ozzy was gone, and all those years of tragedy. She beat Job by any number of tragedies. It was a terrible, terrible thing for her to go through that in life, but she recovered. And she had a great group of friends. So many of them were here, but she had a wonderful, wonderful group of friends who she had an incredible network. She was always on the phone, always writing cards, always connected with people. It was wonderful. And just a couple more things, a couple more anecdotes. By the way, a couple more anecdotes. When Lisa called me, she asked if there were any old pictures, and I found a bunch of extremely old photographs, Lillian as a little girl. And I found a picture that I thought I had lost. Our grandfather, had immigrated to the States sometime before World War I and stayed in the States until Czechoslovakia became a country in 20 or 21, and he went back. He had married Mary Cibula in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and when he got to Czechoslovakia, my mother was born, so my mother was made in the USA. But where am I going with this? Oh, yes. But there was a picture made of my grandfather while he was in the U.S., and I thought I had lost it in one of my moves. And I found it rummaging around for these pictures, and my first reaction was to call Lillian, because I found the picture, and she was dead. And one more anecdote that doesn't deal with Lillian. We have some very good friends whose son died a little over a year ago, suddenly. His name was Gabriel. And they were visiting with their daughter and granddaughter, who was a tyke of some sort, I don't know what age, but a tyke. And they were talking about Gabrielle. And she says, oh, I talk to Gabrielle whenever I want. She says, what do you mean? She says, I pick up the phone and dial his number, and I talk to him. His voicemail is still there. So, Lillian is immortal as long as the people who remember her stay alive. And that's about it. That's our mortality. But you can still be immortal if you don't take your phone number off take your message off your cell phone. Thank you very, very much for coming.
Thank you very much. She's a special person in the life of Lillian.
May I say one more thing?
Yes.
Please, I'm sorry.
Come.
I meant to say it, but in my whatever. Lisa, as Sue said, Lisa is the daughter Lillian never had. The love she had for Lisa is incredible. You were very, very much loved. Not to mention AJ, who is more than special. And Steve has been a wonderful partner for Lisa and a wonderful father for AJ.
So she's a special person in the life of Lillian. My two sentences here to welcome her will give her time to breathe, maybe. And she is the one who married her, Lillian and Ozzy's only son, Stephen, in 2006. She bore Ozzy's and Lillian's only grandchild, Andrew. Let us welcome Lisa, daughter-in-law of Lillian. I think somebody went away with your papers.
My papers were here. Oh, Sue must have.
Would you like mine, Lisa?
I remember the first time I met Lil. Her only child, Steve, and I had only been dating a short time, but we knew early on that we were right for each other. He picked me up and said, I need you to meet my parents. I said, can't we do it another day? I'm in sweats, no makeup, my hair's a mess. He said, they will love you just the way you are. And they did. It was instant. Lil and Ozzy welcomed me into their home and their heart and loved me just like one of their own. The first Christmas with the Lysiaks is something I will never forget. I'm a Jewish girl who never celebrated the holiday before. I was so excited when Steve said I could help decorate the tree. I was hanging some of her favorite vintage ornaments and kept turning around to ask if I was doing it right. Lil and Steve kept smiling, loving my childlike glee. When I finished, I noticed it wasn't quite balanced. I asked if I should fix it, and Lil said no. But when we left, Steve said, don't worry, my mom will readjust everything tomorrow. And that she did. She was particular about how she liked things in a certain spot or done a particular way. We once decided that we would try to make a new cookie recipe together. She did not appreciate my loosey-goosey way of making the cookie shapes or my messiness in the kitchen. She was meticulous to get each cookie perfect with just the right amount of icing. Let's just say that was the only time we baked together. She was so happy when Steve and I got engaged and then married. For the first time in I don't know how many years, she bought new shoes for our wedding. It was the most she had spent on shoes in her life, and we all know how much she didn't like to spend. She was frugal, only buying things when they were on sale. She loved looking through the flyers to find those sales. It made her happy. Steve once told me that he had asked her when he was a kid to pick up popsicles, and she came home with none. He said, "What, is there a great popsicle shortage?" And she said, "They didn't have the ones on sale." That was her. If it wasn't on sale, she wasn't buying it. When I got pregnant with AJ, she was elated, finally going to be a grandma. My pregnancy was not an easy one, and she took me to some appointments and brought Steve and I food, always making sure we were well taken care of. When AJ was born, she doted on every move, on his every move. Every pee, every fart, every poo, every giggle. Everything was a big deal. She just reveled in being a grandma. And then, just 4 months after we had AJ, Steve, her only child, and my incredible husband, was diagnosed with cancer. Our lives turned upside down. When I was with Steve at his chemo appointments, I could always rely on Lil to pick AJ up from daycare or help in any way we needed, even though by this time Ozzy had had several strokes. And Lil had her hands full. She always had time to help us. When Steve died, Lil and I were broken, grieving. But AJ kept her going, giving her and I a reason to wake up in the morning. He was her everything, and she continued to be an almost daily presence in our lives, dropping by unannounced just to see the light of her life. AJ and his babka had a most wonderful relationship, playing card games, going to plays. They even went to baseball spring training in Florida for a few days, just the two of them. She was a staple at his baseball games, never wanting to miss AJ pitching or hitting. She truly was his biggest fan, usually wearing her "That's My Grandson" baseball shirt. She was so proud of him. He was her sun, her moon, her stars. Every Christmas, Lil used to read AJ the night before Christmas, even though she knew the words by heart. She was so excited, and I remember so clearly that first year when AJ learned how to read and was deliberately pronouncing every word. She was so happy. They continued to read that book together every year. You can't talk about Lil without talking about her love of antiques and collectibles. She was an estate sale maven. She loved collecting antiques, especially Czech crystal plates or teacups. When I recently started showing an interest in teacups, she was so happy. I enjoyed our almost weekly estate sale shopping. She loved to teach me where each piece came from. But though she loved her antiques, she hated technology. She liked to refer to herself as a dinosaur. She refused to get a cell phone or use a computer, and literally had a meltdown when the rotary phone in her kitchen was disconnected. She was famous for making her delicious cheesecake tarts that AJ loved, babka's bean salad, or breaded chicken. She was also known to have a heavy foot when she drove, and she was still driving right until the very end. She loved taking us for drives to her beloved Stanbridge East, going strawberry or apple picking or mushroom picking. When she turned 80 a couple of years ago, I thought it would be nice to throw her a surprise birthday party. It was a milestone birthday, and she would not have done it for herself. I served on the many beautiful antique dishes she had given me over the years and made that special, delicious lemon dessert, her favorite. I'll never forget the look on her face when she walked in and saw everyone. She was so happy. She proudly put on her sash and tiara, and she must have talked about how much of a beautiful party it was for weeks. I pulled another surprise on her when we went to Boston to see the Red Sox play. I knew that she had not seen Donna and Ward from Connecticut in a long time, and connived with Donna to surprise her in Boston. I loved doing things like that for her because she truly appreciated it so much. When I met and remarried Steve number 2, yes, another Steve, I know that it was not easy for her. She let me know that in no uncertain terms. But I assured her that I never stopped loving her, the man she raised, and that is what he would want for us. Soon, she loved Steve as well, and he was her family too. Even when I was out of town or working late, she would invite him over with AJ for a meal. Steve helped her with things around the house that she could no longer do. And again, she was so appreciative. Lil and I would speak almost every day. She would tell me about the latest Louise Penny book she was reading, which she would be cooking for supper, and of course, which church or estate sales she was planning on going to on Saturday. I hope that when she got to heaven, she was finally able to wrap her arms around our beloved Stephen, give them all her love. We will love you and miss you forever.
At this time, would anyone else like to share a memory of Lillian? Yes, please.
I remember Lillian and her sour cream coffee cake. She says, the more overdue it is, the sour cream that is, the better the cake. And one time she proudly or boastfully said, I've got a roast in the freezer that's 2 years old. And then finally she cooked it, and she's like, it was delicious.
Right. Thank you. Someone else? Yes, please.
I didn't know what babka was, and I remember one time.
You have to speak louder because people want to hear this.
I didn't know what babka was. I'm still not 100% sure, but I think it means grandma.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, and one day she came into the house, and I called her babka. I didn't know what it meant. And my sister said, "You can't call her that." And she said to me, "No." And I said, "No, what?" She said, "I'm not your babka." So I think it means grandma.
It does mean grandma. Yes, babka. Thank you. I think that word was reserved, was exclusive to Andrew Babka. Thank you. Let us hear a second music piece. It is called I'll Remember You. Oh, yes, yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's a Slovak expression, stara baba ako jaba, old babka like a frog.
Hold.
Old, stara babka, like old babka,
Oh.
old grandmother, ako jaba, like a frog.
Oh. Thank you for this one. And we'll listen to a song from Elvis Presley. It is called I'll Remember You. For Lisa and Andrew, it's so very important to have someone to journey with them, to love them no matter what. And Steve wanted to be part of this. So we'll listen to a poem that Steve will read to us now. It's about baseball.
It's called The Best of Seven. Some final thoughts during this final inning about what's important and what is winning. It's all about the moments and not about the game. The memories that we make where we never are the same. It's easy to see sorrow, but harder to see grace during our time on this planet as it's hurtling through space. But then the game is over, full excitement, joy, and tears. And you have a special, precious memory that will last you all your years. That's you, Andrew. Thank you.
We are convinced. We know that nothing can destroy or erase what has been lived in love. Lillian's life is now written in time. The memories of love that you keep will make Lillian live forever, just as Butch said. Lillian has entered into the glorious light of eternity. No torment or pain will ever torment her again. Source of life and source of love, we thank you for all the blessings in life, for watching over us in death, and for all the ways in which we come to know what real love is. We thank you for those who share our lives, for families and loved ones, for caregivers and companions, for friends and neighbors. Especially today, we thank you for Lillian. We're so grateful for the gift of her life, for all in her that was generous and kind, for the love she gave and received, for the grace that enabled her to serve and love her family and loved ones. We're grateful for all that lives on through those who knew and loved her. We thank you that for her, death is past, pain is ended, and she has entered into the joy and peace of eternal rest. We sympathize with the family and friends of Lillian and for all who grieve this loss. We remember especially those who have passed and whom we miss so much. May they all know the comfort that love provides through the support and care of others. May we be able to help as we seek to offer support and care, healing and hope to those who feel this loss. And we also think today of all others who know suffering and pain. May we all come to understand the purpose of our life and work together, that the world becomes a better place to live, to love, to have our being. May it be so. Thanks to all of us. We are dust, and to dust we shall return. This is the only truth there is about humankind, which is that all that lives eventually perishes. But our hope tells us that our soul continues its journey according to its beliefs. And for this we are at peace. I take a little bit of dust and put it on Lillian's urn. And for all of us who have to continue our journey and keep on living, we rely on each other to keep and nourish our relationships, our service to one another, our mutual kindness, so that in moments of sadness and loneliness like this, we find comfort and hope in one another. To you all, may every handshake, every smile, every memory of Lillian be a sign of her love for you and of her presence still with you. If you are here, it is because you love her and you love her family. If you are here, it's because Lillian loved you. We have a special gift to offer to Lillian and to you who came here today. So our last music piece will be by Mr. Mike Bleho, who will sing and accompany himself. It is called To My Old Brown Earth from Pete Seeger. It is a song that Lillian loved.
To my old brown earth and to my old blue sky, I'll now give these last few molecules of ice. And to those who sing, and those who stand nearby, I do charge you not to cry. Guard well our human chain. Watch well, you keep it strong, as long as sun will shine. And this, our home, keep pure and sweet and green. For now I am yours and you are also mine. For now I am yours and you are also mine.
What a beautiful way to end the ceremony. Thank you, Mike, for your music. Thank you, everybody, for your tributes, for the eulogies, for your presence. May the road ahead of you be as smooth as can be. as you are healing from the emptiness created by her departure. As my mom used to say, after so much emotion, let's have a bite to eat. So we're just going to ask for your cooperation. If you can please just take the time to gather yourself. If you just want to move out of the room for about 10 minutes, we're going to transform the hall for you to come back, and food and drinks will be served to you. Thank you so much again for being here today.